So blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Out to the media equalizer. Brian Maloney joining us now. Brian, good to have you back.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
What do you make of this whole thing with all these editorials today in the papers? Does anybody read the papers anymore?
Well, I think it just shows how irrelevant they really are. I mean, the Boston Globe spearheaded this, and they've been decrying, Trump's bullying of the media. So they decide we're going to bully right back with 300 newspapers that I don't think anybody's reading anymore. I mean, when was the last time you saw a print newspaper? It's pretty rare. And if you go online and look at a newspaper's website, how often do you click and read their editorials? I don't think many people get past the front page. So I think, it just shows how irrelevant they are and how little impact 300 newspapers can have. And also the people who support Trump already hate those papers. So I think that these people are just, we could use some terms that wouldn't be that great on the radio, but I think they're just deluding themselves here. And I think Trump should continue his attacks on the media. And I wish that Bush had done that years ago when he was always letting them, beat him into submission. And finally, we have a president that stands up to the media, and the last thing I would want him to do is back down.
Well, and you're right. The people agree with the president that they view the press as their enemy. And for years they have, and look what they've done. Look, even the almighty purveyor of the politically correct, John McCain, what happened when he crossed him? He got the treatment.
Well, that's absolutely right. And I mean, things... Anytime we've had a Republican who thinks that, well, what I need to do is please the press and please Washington and try to make friends with them all, you get your head handed to you. And I think so we finally ended up with somebody who said, you know what, the only way to win here is to go take them all head on and just keep going after them relentlessly and never give up. And I think to his credit, he never backs down. I think the minute that he ever really does back down, they will eat his lunch. They will. So as long as he understands that he can never show them any sign of weakness ever, he'll be fine. But the minute he succumbs to what all of his predecessors did, he'll be toast in Washington because they smell blood. They're sharks. I mean, they're just looking for that.
Brian, I'm going to ask you. I don't know if you're trained as a psychologist or a psychoanalyst, but the media seems to be able to dish it out but can't take it, and they don't understand that it's part of the game when you have a Republican like Mr. Trump fighting back. Snarly Chuck Todd and others, Jake Tapper amongst others as well, seem to take his ideology and everything personally.
Well, they do, and the bottom line is, why do we still have a Jake Tapper, or why do we still have any of these goofballs? Why do we still have a CNN? And I think that that's what we need as an America that has a real press, a real media, and no longer has these clowns because they really don't serve any constructive purpose and haven't for years. There's nothing good coming from any of them. So I think that, we're stuck in, the problem with CNN, you can say, well, nobody's watching. People, you can just tune it out. The problem is, they have a contract they air in every airport in America because they pay the airports to run CNN. That's why it's blaring when you're waiting for your flight. CNN is up full blast because they're paying the airport for that. Millions of dollars per year nationwide. So, that's why CNN is on everywhere when you're going places. They pay for that. And so that's what has to change. We can't be force-fed their garbage anymore. We're done. And so we need to look at what steps can be taken next, and that's what we're looking at right now.
Brian Maloney joining us, Media Equalizer, MediaEqualizer.com on KIDO Talk Radio. Here's another one, Omarosa.
Yeah, I mean, come on, selling books. By the way, if she really had on tape all the things that she's claiming, don't you think we would have heard those tapes 2 years ago? You really think NBC would have sat on tapes like that in their vaults when they could have released those and destroyed Trump 2 years ago?
I would agree with you, yeah. Again, I don't know if Chuck Todd, I don't want to, let me apologize. I don't have a fixation on Chuck Todd, Brian, but I don't know if he wanted to take a shower during or after that interview, but
no, I mean, he is truly a media swamp creature. And I mean, when you look at people like that and you realize they're actually paid a lot of money to be that ridiculous, that absurd, and to have that little talent and ability, it is disgusting to think about. But that's the benefit of being a leftist. You know, and the price of being conservative is being shut out from all this. But we have principles and they don't. That's the bottom line. We can live with ourselves. We can sleep at night, and I don't think they can. So for them, it's all about the social scene in Washington and the Hamptons and whatever, and that's the way they live their lives. But, I mean, as Americans, we have bills to pay and lives to lead and jobs to do, and, you know, their world just isn't relevant to ours.
You know, Brian, you've been at this a long time, and I can remember when I was a baby host and you were starting off fresh from your stints in Seattle and Boston as a talk show host. How has the world of talk radio changed?
Well, I mean, I'm glad to see that it's still out there. I'm still doing a lot of talk radio as guests, you know, as I am with you right now. And there are a lot of good hosts still out there plugging away, so I'm encouraged by that. I mean, we know the radio owners are troubled, the conglomerates are in trouble, whatever. But, I mean, it still seems to be there, and the listeners are still there. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's still a force. I think that it could be a lot stronger than it is right now. I mean, I remember a time when talk radio was just taking over the world, and I think that we need to get talk radio back nice and strong again because, you know, in the Internet, Google and Amazon and these companies, Apple and Facebook, Twitter, are cutting conservatives out. They're just cutting us right off the Internet. So going back to radio would be a great strategy for us. And, I mean, you know, look at how we're being suppressed on Twitter just for, you know, having conservative views. Or in the case of Alex Jones, who I don't know if he's so much a conservative, he's kind of a conspiracy theorist. But, you know, someone was joking and saying, hey, you cut Alex Jones off, and yet Ancient Aliens is still on cable every night with the same conspiracy theories. You know, like, what gives? So we're living in a world where Silicon Valley tech executives are allowed to censor our viewpoints based on their whims, and that's a scary, scary world. And so really Washington isn't really running things that much anymore. Silicon Valley is. So we need ways to bypass that, and going back to the airwaves would be a fabulous way to do that.
Brian, going to the MediaEqualizer.com, you have a couple stories about Laura Ingraham. Is she the number one target of the left right now to try and get her removed from TV and radio?
Well, she is, because they see her as the most vulnerable right now. So Media Matters for America, which takes millions of dollars every year in George Soros money and from other tech and far-left billionaires, has dozens of people on staff. They even have about a dozen affiliated operations in D.C. They've become kind of this monster in D.C., and they are targeting Laura with everything they got. They just see her as the easiest one to pick off on Fox. So that's really why they're going after her. There's nothing outrageous about what she says. She's actually one of the tamer hosts on Fox in terms of rhetoric or topics or whatever, but they just see her as the easiest to get fired. And this is all about firing people. That's what it's always been about with the left. And, you know, they see Hannity or Tucker Carlson is harder to get off the airwaves. So they're just going to keep at her every time she tweets. Notice she never really tweets anything that outrageous, but they turn it into some huge flap over nothing.
I would agree, sir. MediaEqualizer.com. Brian, we appreciate your work for years and years, and thank you for being here with us.
Sure, thank you. My pleasure as always.
All right, Brian Malone joining us. He's no Liberty Linda. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. You know, I will vote for Brad Little. I won't be holding my nose when I do it. However, where did he come from? I mean, you know,
he
here
came from Emmett.
Okay. You know, here we were, you know, in this state we were talking about Dr. Alquist versus Raul Lavador. We thought that's where the big race was. And then they came out and announced that Brad Little had won. And I have to tell you, I was taken back. It was like, oh.
Well, Being there that primary night and working more than any other media outlet, we were the first on and the last off just because we care about the politics. But,
I was listening, yes.
Brad Little came out and had a lead and appeared extremely confident and didn't give up the lead. Dr. Ahlquist came out, spoke with us again, and Little never relinquished the lead. Obviously, they knew something that everybody else didn't. Now, many people thought that Congressman Labrador would have this lead, and he did for most of the time, but the race changed, as it usually does, in the last month. And here you have where the undecideds broke to Little. And
well, I was one that was totally surprised that night. And you did a wonderful job. It was wonderful listening to you. I'm glad you were there that night.
Oh, it was, you could tell it's one of my labors of love. I love the politics, just the covering the story, the how the sausage is made, Liberty Linda. But, you go back to what happened in the 2nd Congressional District, and, you take a look at that, and you take a look at how Dr. Ahlquist was there all the time with the paid media. You take a look at even in the first CD, the congressman didn't overperform as much as he needed to beat out Brad Little and Dr. Ahlquist. So it's a fascinating race. It's funny because people have gone, well, it's over now. I could talk about that race for years, and hopefully I'll be with you doing that. Or this next one, I just don't see any way that Paulette Jordan can win, and Soros could come in, Cher can come in, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck can come in. She can be on all the shows, but it doesn't move the needle in Idaho.
Mm-hmm. Well, Brad Little is a nice person. I don't think he's going to be a fighter exactly for our causes here, but
Right.
I believe he's a nice person and will be a good governor in that respect.
But Liberty Linda, you're a writer. You examine things. You're a reporter. Let's just go back to not only was Brad Little and still is, unlike Paulette Jordan, she's not made herself available to people, and that's her choice. But Brad Little is running like he's an unknown. He's always accessible. He has the business, the realtors, the ag, all those people. So in addition to his money, he's going to have their money. And
Right.
you might even have money from the National Republican Party coming in. Now, people that run for office in Idaho, and these are Republicans, there's not a lot of big money in this state. So I don't know where Paulette Jordan is going to get her money. And maybe this is an idea, Liberty Linda, like you gave me the idea for the debate parties, that some reporter will find out where her money's coming from.
Well, I think we probably know where it's coming from, but I think she should run in either San Francisco or New York. She would definitely win there.
Well, she isn't going to win here, and
No.
a candidate that could have given Brad Little a tough time. His name was A.J. Belukoff. That would have been a matchup.
Well, certainly this was a very, very interesting race. And, as for myself, who I like, Dr. Ahlquist, and Raul Labrador is a wonderful person. He's done wonderful things for this state. I'm not saying he wasn't. A lot of my friends were for Raul Labrador, and that was just fine because I know he's a very good man. And he is a fighter, that's for sure. And, I just happened to know Dr. Ahlquist and felt inspired to be on his side. But we'll see what happens in the future in regard to that.
Well, as we've talked about it, and these are, nobody likes to lose. And I was somewhere the other day, and somebody said this softball team, they're taught to try, to work, and to fail. Nobody wants to fail, but you learn more from your losses than your victories, and we shall see. Whether or not Dr. Ahlquist returns to politics or continues to work in the community. We shall see, what the future is for Congressman Labrador, whether he comes back to Idaho, as I've urged him to do, and to make it about the people and develop a conservative grassroots organization, or maybe he goes to Washington and gets a job in TV. Either way,
that's what I think.
Either way, we wish him luck, but, it'll be telling to see which way the wind blows.
I think that President Trump may have something for him. I felt that all along.
Here's the other one with that,
pretty
though.
helpful as President Trump does.
But you remember when Phil was on, there were some little hard feelings there between Trump and Labrador, because I asked Phil, I go, why didn't he come in? And, the president remembers things. So it's the drama that is politics. To be continued, Liberty Linda. We appreciate you listening.
Well, Kevin, you have the most wonderful show, and your listeners love you.
Well, I love them. Again, you were in my head last week when I was on vacation. I was like taking phone calls in my sleep.
I can imagine you were.
Honestly.
I don't know how Dorothy holds you down on the getting away for a week.
A lot of sedatives,
Can I say a word about Sarah Sanders?
Well, you've said a lot of words, but only because it's you. Go ahead.
Well, I just think she has to come out in full armor.
Ha!
She has to come out with a shield and a sword, and I can't even imagine how she can stand out there. And, when she walks away, that she has had every ounce of energy taken out of her body. Anyway, so next time you can envision her coming out in her full armor and a shield.
Liberty Linda, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. By the way, thank you, Ray Mai, for pulling this. Well, sometimes the old computer... Hold on, let me hit it a few times. No, this is real. I'm not making this up. Let's try it again here. And we'll see if we have Paulette Jordan now. That's amazing. You're going to have to play this. My computer won't play this Paulette Jordan thing.
But all of us, we are all one. Like all of you, I am a Westerner. I was raised by Idaho. I come here on the vision and the prayers of our ancestors. They suffered and they sacrificed for far too long for us not to see this win tonight. My heart breaks when I see that our kids don't have access to the best public education that we should be providing for them. You're leaving our future out. But today is that first step, that we move in the right direction and really truly believe in the fact that Idaho belongs to all of us. And never again will we stand down. We will always stand up with each other.
Yeah, I'm really trying to figure that out. Maybe she should just have a hat that says, make Idaho great again. Traffic and weather together. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. KIDO Talk Radio traffic. Still heavy on the freeways. You come out of Candy County again in the Meridian Road area. Don't forget on State Street eastbound there at Veterans Memorial Parkway, construction has that backing up about 2 or 3 blocks every morning coming into downtown. Independence Indoor Shooting is Idaho's premier firearms retailer, indoor shooting range, and training academy. Independence Indoor Shooting open Monday through Saturday till 9 off Overland across from the Majestic Theaters. Online at iishooting.com. That's your Impact Directory traffic update. I'm Dave Burnett on KIDO Talk Radio.
Thank you, Dave. KIDO Talk Radio weather from the Channel 7 First Alert Weather Center. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning, Kevin. Now another day with some hot temperatures, even though we have a cool front that is on the way. So we'll start to see some of that tomorrow. Today, 97. Still have that yellow air quality alert. We're still going to be seeing smoke and haze, but mostly sunny skies. We got a few clouds coming in. I'm News Channel 7's Eric Everett.
Idaho's very popular and very conservative governor, Butch Otter.
Tea Party Bob joins us now, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you today, this beautiful Thursday?
Hold on, wait for it.
Idaho's very popular and very conservative governor, Butch Otter.
Boy, you just happen to know what I was going to talk about. How do you know that?
Now, here's what we're going to call a tease. So we're up against it. I'm sure that you have a lot of information you want to impart to the listening audience or at jumpstatepatriot.com. So you're going to have to hold on, and we've got Mr. Decker coming up. Is that all right with you?
I love to listen to Mr. Decker, so please go ahead.
You know, from the White House to your house, and we're not talking about anyone else's house.
Okay, my friend, let's go.
Hold on.
Idaho's very popular and very conservative governor, Butch Otter.
I just had to do that for you. Just like old
Yeah,
times.
I know you did.
All right, more coming up with Tea Party Bob, John Decker, Fox News, and you, only on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
KIDO Talk Radio coming up. John Decker will join us. Then it'll be more of Tea Party Bob. How exciting. By the way, you can catch him at gemstatepatriot.com. Thousands of people do, and we appreciate his work. One topic that will continue to resonate is this issue involving Paulette Jordan and whether or not she will be Idaho's next governor. I don't think it's going to happen, but anytime that we can talk about politics, I love it. Because particularly, when we look at politics, we don't, what is it, a mile wide and an inch deep when it comes to politics in this state. Sure, we'll talk a little bit about issues and that sort of thing, but to really delve deeply, it's very rare. That's why we have the resources of Fox News, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, at the top and bottom of every hour. We go live from your house to the White House with John Decker and all our other Fox News shows. And the only reason why we're telling that, not to be braggadocious, it's just to let you know that we work hard each and every day to earn your listenership, because I believe that listening is earned. You can take things for granted, and usually bad things happen. But if you appreciate what you have, you work hard, good things will happen. And a person that knows all about working hard and meritocracy in America is our own John Decker, live from the White House from Fox News Radio on KIDO Talk Radio. John, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Kevin. How are you doing today?
I think I'm doing better than John Brennan.
Yeah, John Brennan, the former CIA director, yesterday announced that the president revoked his security clearance, and he's also studying whether to revoke the security clearances of other former national security officials who served in the Obama administration, including James Clapper, the former director of national intelligence, Susan Rice, the former national security advisor to President Obama, and also Michael Hayden, who served as both CIA director and also head of the National Security Agency under President Obama. What do all of these individuals have in common? They have all been critics of the president, and that's what some say is the reason or motivation behind the president revoking John Brennan's security clearance.
Right, and John, you're a person that covers Washington. You know how the rules are run. Why do you think that there's any shock that the president would do this? Specifically, that when you take a look at Brennan and Clapper, they've been very vocal and very personal in their criticism of the president.
Well, that is their constitutional right to express how they feel about anything in particular. But having a security clearance is a right. It's a privilege. It's not a right, and that's something that the president, under his Article 2 powers, can do unilaterally if for any reason. And so that's what the president has done. And for Mr. Brennan, he claims that this is just retribution. He wrote in the New York Times an op-ed piece in which he said that President Trump clearly has become more desperate to protect himself and those close to him, which is why he made the politically motivated decision to revoke my security clearance. So that's Brennan speaking about this, and the president telling the Wall Street Journal in an interview yesterday that Brennan is among those he holds responsible for the special counsel's Russia investigation.
John Decker joining us from the White House, Fox News Radio, here on KIDO Talk Radio. John, we'll get you out on this one. Your thoughts on the White House press briefing. Have they gotten any better, and they still are as crowded as usual?
They were crowded earlier this week, that's for sure. Not yesterday, not as crowded as what we saw on Tuesday. Tuesday was the first day that there was a briefing in about 12 days, and many of the questions, if not most of the questions, concerned the former White House aide Omarosa Manigault Newman, who, of course, is out with a new book, and she's promoting it, making some claims in there. And Sarah Sanders had the first opportunity on camera to respond to a lot of the things that Omarosa claims in that new book.
Yeah, never a dull moment. And you take a look at Omarosa making the scenes. I never thought that I would ever see her on Meet the Press.
Yeah, that's probably the first and only time you'll see her on Meet the Press. But from what I understand, her appearance led to, I think, the highest ratings that Meet the Press under Chuck Todd's stewardship has ever had. So she's certainly, there's a lot of interest in what she has to say and what she's recorded. I think that is really the thing that's driving all the interest, is the surreptitiously taped audio that she has been putting out there to promote her book.
Now, John Decker is, again, someone of Washington. I say that as a compliment. Could you imagine Tim Russert and Omarosa?
That's difficult to say. I know that. Right?
I'm with you.
Days.
Could you imagine Tim Russert and Omarosa on Meet the Press?
Oh, sure. I mean, Tim Russert interviewed many interesting people on his show, and not always people from the political realm. Sometimes he interviewed athletes on that show. I think one time he actually had Jay Leno on his show. So, yeah, I can certainly imagine
I'm with
Tim
you.
Russert having
I'm with you, but the tone would be different. Again, you have to be a political animal to get where I'm going. Russert was marvelous in how he would grab something that you had said in the past, and his researchers were first rate, and objectively ask the question. I mean, I picture this in my mind as you talk about how people have different styles, whether it's David Gregory, Edwin Newman, Chuck Todd, Tim Russert, and Omarosa. That would be fascinating, I think.
I get where you're going. Yeah, it would be interesting. Everybody does indeed have their own style. But, Omarosa learned from the master, in terms of how to play the media. She learned from President Trump. First, obviously, on The Apprentice, and she made numerous appearances on other reality shows since her first appearance on The Apprentice. So, look, I have no doubt that she'll remain relevant in terms of promoting this book, particularly if she has more information, more recordings that she wants to release.
John Decker, we appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. Have a great day.
You too, sir. Bye-bye. John Decker joining us from the White House to your house. Fox News Radio, only on KIDO Talk Radio. And we're back with the peach of the Gem State, Tea Party Bob.
Oh, how sweet it is. Mr. Miller, how are you again?
Call you Little Sweetness.
As you know, today 350 newspapers are putting out editorials on President Trump. So the Gem State Patriot put out an editorial thanking the president for all he's done to make America great again. So if people have a chance, go to the website and take a look at it. Pretty much know how I feel about the upcoming election, and that Paulette Jordan doesn't have a prayer of winning. What I do want your listeners to understand is that I don't believe that Brad Little will do much of anything to improve the lives of Idahoans during his tenure. When you win a primary election like he did, it shows that he garnered a bit more than a third of the vote, and that is hardly a mandate by the voters of Idaho for him to be our governor. I'm going to venture some predictions in the next 4 years, as I usually do.
Now, let me jump in there. Aren't you being a sore winner then? When
no,
you say
not
that,
at
I mean,
all.
a win is a win is a win.
I'm being honest. The problem is most politicians are honest. But since I'm not a politician, I can afford to be honest. We're going to be looking at the same old crony policies that were promoted by Governor Otter. And if anyone is expecting any tax relief, you can just about forget it. You can be sure Little will do nothing to stop the Medicaid expansion and do nothing on prison reform as we ship off another 105 of our prisoners to Texas. You can expect him to bring us more taxes, fees, and regulations along with much larger bureaucratic state government. There will be a move to increase the spending on roads and highways, and I'm at a loss as to how they are going to fund these projects except to look for higher registration fees as well as potentially higher gas tax than we currently have. The elderly and those in the lower income brackets can look forward to paying the grocery tax for another 4 years and expect a hike in their property taxes to pay for the new school levies, while special interests get their special sales tax exemptions as usual. If anyone will get a break on taxes, it will be the crony businesses who pander to the state politicians with their campaign contributions. So keep an eye on the next legislative session, as the leaders will be asking to give businesses more tax relief to be competitive with the other states. We will also see a huge
Well, no, wait a minute.
campaign.
You're just so optimistic here.
Look, I'm telling you the truth, my friend.
Now,
I see the handwriting on the wall, and I've been pretty good at this.
Well, you've been rumored to wanting to leave the state for quite some time.
Oh, no, I'm just moving a little further away from the,
now,
should I call it, infiltration of liberals.
You have painted a rather sour picture. I'm going to put you on the spot here on KIDO Talk Radio. And would you the future with Brad Little or the future with this lovely young lady?
But all of us, we are all one. Like all of you, I am a Westerner. I was raised by Idaho. I come here on the vision and the prayers of our ancestors. They suffered and they sacrificed for far too long for us not to see this win tonight. My heart breaks.
Now, I don't know really what she's saying. Is she saying in code, or I don't know what's going on here. Here's a little bit more of Paulette Jordan.
When I see that our kids don't have access to the best public education that we should be providing for them.
Right. So there you have it.
That's like asking me whether I want to be killed with the guillotine or hung.
That's the choice you have there, Timmy.
That's just about what the choice is. You know, we already see the big money coming in. They want the horse racing back. Their campaign has already started. We're going to see that happen. All the cronies are irritated at Governor Otter for not vetoing the bill. I think he fell asleep for 3 days.
Now, that was a bad call at the line of scrimmage on his part.
At the line of scrimmage, they had already crossed the goal line. The governor wasn't awake. He didn't see the play.
Well, and they took him to court, and that's how that veto was disallowed.
You know, I only hope I'm wrong about these predictions, but I doubt it seriously. All in all, you're going to see little change from little, and an economy that will grow in spite of our politicians because of President Trump's policies, although you can expect them to take full credit for any improvements that we get here. That's about what I have to say.
You paint such a perky picture of our future.
Look, I've been here for 25 years, and in the last 12, I haven't seen anything get a lot better, let me tell you.
Wow.
And we haven't seen a lot of rising in our incomes either. That's something that needs to happen here.
Well,
and our education is still in the dumps.
Well, look, we went through this massive primary. Gas taxes, gas prices are still record high.
Yep.
The education system is still a challenge.
Yep.
Nobody really has offered any solutions. Well, hold on. Let's go back to Paulette here.
But all of us, we are all one. Like
We're all one. I don't really. Can anybody help it?
Well, you say people haven't offered solutions. There have been solutions offered. The problem is that the management doesn't really want to hear them. And they haven't wanted to hear them for the last 12 years.
Well,
so how do you expect to get change?
Maybe it's not them, it's us.
I don't know. I think people have woken up a little bit, but they still need to be shaken a little bit.
Maybe if you said please and thank you.
If I say, okay, please, thank you. Don't elect Little. Don't elect Paulette.
Wait a minute. Don't elect Little. What are you talking about?
Don't elect Little. Don't elect Paulette. Just write in Labrador, or even I would rather even have Tommy.
I know you're joking on that.
Yes, I am.
Well, why not write you in then?
Listen, I'm a little bit too old to be taking that job, as is Governor Otter. And I don't think Little is going to do any
Isn't that ageism?
Ageism, yes, I like that. I'm going to use that in my next article.
No, about yourself. You're self-ageism yourself.
Listen, I'm just a young at heart guy. But, we don't have the same...
Hold on. Does anybody know where this call has gone?
It's gone from nowhere to somewhere.
It's almost like it's just one of those things where it just has to end.
Yeah, let's just beat the ground and say that's the end of this call. Kevin, I love you, brother. Thank you for your show, and I'll see you this afternoon.
I love you, Tea Party Bob. Take care.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. The Gem State Patriot, the one, the only, Tea Party Bob.
Idaho's very popular and very conservative governor, Butch Otter.
Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
But all of us, we are all one. Like all of you, I am a Westerner. I was raised by Idaho. I come here on the vision and the prayers of our ancestors. They suffered and they sacrificed for far too long for us not to see this win tonight. My heart breaks when I see that our kids don't have access to the best public education that we should be providing for them. We are leaving our future out. But today is that first step, that we move in the right direction and really truly believe in the fact that Idaho belongs to all of us. And never again will we stand down. We will always stand up with each other.
There we have it, the excerpts of Paulette Jordan's speech on primary night where she won, wasn't hanging out with her fellow Democrats. She was, well, holding her own party, which doesn't bode well for her or the Democrats' chance in November. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. By the way, you can read my attempt at literature at KIDOTalkRadio.com, where I declare the governor's race is over. Man who knows all about the governor, the governor's races, our great friend, Mike Tracy. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin. What's interesting is I was at the Republican State Convention in June and heard Ollie North and Brad Little got a solid A, and he went down the voting record of Paulette Jordan and gave her a solid F. He said if there was a lower grade he could give her, he would have. And he's the new NRA president for at the national level. And in Idaho, the polling that I've seen over the last 25 years shows that gun control, somebody that wants gun, it's a 70%er. I mean, she just lost essentially 70% of the vote just because of her NRA quotes and votes over the last 2 or 3 years. But, you know, that poll that we talked about a little bit yesterday, I know we didn't have a lot of time to talk about it, that 8% is, if it was done by a Democratic pollster or it was done internally by the Idaho Press, and I'm not being critical of anybody, but these, as I said, in 1996, Walt Minnick had a Democratic pollster 4 weeks before the election say that he was 2% behind Larry Craig, and I told the press to add a 0 to that. And 2 days later, the Mason-Dixon poll came out, which used to be the media polling for Idaho that the media all used. They came out with a poll that showed Larry was up by 19 points, and on Election Day, Larry won by almost 19 points. So you have to take all of those kinds of polls with a grain of salt. Brad Little, if he does and works hard and does everything that he should do, and I know he will because I know his campaign team very well, he's going to get at least 65% of the vote, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's even higher than that.
See, I agree with you. And Mike, as a political operative, a media marketing guy.
By the way, I want to remind you, I was the one that predicted back in 2016 that Brad was going to win the primary no matter who ran against him.
You did.
On your show.
You did. And as I was saying, you have been a part of these machines. Just the sheer brilliance of the execution of the Little campaign against Dr. Ahlquist, Congressman Labrador, took them apart. They didn't know what hit them until the end, and that's not being disparaging. That's just the facts. That's what great political campaigns do. I can't imagine. It's like we've been talking about. The Republicans have been scrimmaging each other. Now they have a unified Democrat to go after with the resources, with the effort. I agree with you. I just don't see it, that it's going to be close.
In the 40 years that I've watched primaries, the only Republican primary that I've seen, there's 2 of them that have come close to this one, but that have not been as bad. One was in 94 when Phil Batt knocked off, I think, 4 separate opponents. And then the other one that I saw was in 1978 when Alan Larson won a 7-way primary, and that was Butch Otter's first time he ran for governor.
Mike, great point. I got to run. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Great call, Mike Tracy. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. KIDO Talk Radio Traffic. We're ending the morning drive the way we start. Accident